So what are you carrying in your pocket? A folder or a fixed blade? Let's talk about that. Growing up, I always carried folding knives from when I was pretty young, through my scouting days, and through much of life. But since 2002, I've been a licensed massage therapist, so I've been protecting my hands and not using knives so much. But a few years back, I felt the need to start carrying again. I was carrying a old Spyderco for many years, but I was never in love with that knife, and I gave it away to a buddy of mine and quite recently. But the knife that got me back into knives was this, a Victorinox Rambler 58 millimeter. Love this little blade. My Uncle Grant always said, always carry a blade on you. So that is one, plus it's got this fantastic tool right here. Is that going to pick up on that? This multi-tool with a Phillips head and wire cutter and cap lifter. On the backside, important for a licensed massage therapist, is the nail file with flathead screwdriver, pry bar, and then the Victorinox scissors. Fabulous little things, plus the scale tools, of course. The toothpick, the tweezers, love this little knife, and it's always on my keychain. Use one of these little clips. And it locks down, and there you go, in the pocket, and I forget about it until I need it. My next knife in my knife journey, and I'm not going to bring all of them out, but was the Civivi Elementum. Really nice little blade. D2 steel, about a 3-inch blade. Nice grippy micarta handle. This model's been discontinued because this kind of brown micarta was discontinued, so I got it for not very much money. Liner lock. And there's something very satisfying about a flipper. Though there are more fidgety knives out there. And I have a couple other folding knives too. My main one that I pretty much always carry in my left pocket is another Swiss Army knife, the Victorinox Pioneer X Alox. Gosh, I think they're just so pretty, with a titanium suspension clip. But this has the big blade, the awl, which I use a lot of. It's all right, but of course it has the standard flathead, cap lifter, wire splitter. Uses a pry bar too. And then the other standard on that same layer is the can opener And this can also be used for a little screwdriver, including, even though it's a two-dimensional head, it can still be used for a Phillips. So, really great knife. That is my standard left pocket carry, unless I'm a little more out in the woods, and in my sling bag here, or if I'm out camping, I'll put this in the left pocket, but I have the Victorinox Ranger with another titanium suspension clip. I had a stainless steel clip before, but it broke after very minimal use, so went with titanium and been really happy with these. This has many tools. I'm not going to get into them all, but one of the reasons I like keeping this around is for the saw, which is quite useful and effective for a small saw. So when I'm out gathering sticks by the river, and I don't have a bigger saw on me like one of my Silkies, I carry that. Other notables, it also has the scissors. Oh my gosh, did I show the scissors on the Pioneer X Alox? It's got scissors too. I just wing these videos, and sometimes I forget things. One other reason I got the Ranger is for this other tool, which is a metal saw and file. So very handy when needing something like that. So also I've got it decked out with a little bit of tinder and a little screwdriver, and instead of the toothpick, I've got a tiny ferro rod. This thing's really effective. You could use the back of the saw blade to scrape it. So I do keep some folders around. Most of them are Swiss Army knives, but I do have that Civivi Elementum, and I don't have it with me, but I've got a Benchmade mini crooked river as well. But I kept thinking, with a Swiss Army knife in one pocket and a folder in the other, I wanted to get a little more outdoorsy and more reliable. I like a folder, but there's some disadvantages to it. One is, an advantage and a disadvantage is the pocket clip. Really great to have that inside the pocket with the material up against there so the blade doesn't come out, and it's really great, really good retention, not likely to fall out. The Elementum is not ambidextrous. There's no screw holes on the other side. So if a left-hand carry is what you're after, there are other knives other than the Elementum. It's still very satisfying. So I'm not really carrying my folders too often anymore because I've wanted to go to a pocket carry fixed blade. A fixed blade that I can have on me every day. And I started off, I'll show you my first. Oh, heck, I have more knives than I thought. Let's backtrack a moment. The other folder, I just loaded up my sling bag with knives. Here it is. This is the Benchmade mini crooked river. And I love these wood scales, the orange washer, the orange kind of back spacer there. This is a different, this is a Benchmade deep carry shorter pocket clip, which I had them swap out when I went down to Benchmade and picked this up. Yeah, this is a nice knife, S35VN steel, and I mean, there's nothing more satisfying than a thumb stud. This is also a crossbar lock, so the locking mechanism is here. And Benchmade kind of had the patent on that, but now there's all kinds of crossbar type locks on the market, and different manufacturers are calling them different things. This is a beautiful, beautiful knife. Clip point blade, some nice swedging there. Pretty darn lovely. But I'm not carrying this as much because I started getting into fixed blades. And first, excuse me as I futz around with things. I don't plan my videos too much. I just walk down to the river with knives and go. Here is a really, really cool fixed blade. This is the MKM Pocket Tango. This is a collaboration between David C. Anderson over at Knife Center and MKM, Italian manufacturer. This is a kind of a sheep's foot blade, olive wood scale handles, some nice jimping on the spine. It's a crowned spine. A lanyard hole in the back. It's also crowned. It's very comfortable. For most people, it's probably a 3.5 finger grip, but I could just kind of barely get 4 fingers on my small to medium-ish hands. So I have really loved carrying this thing around. The blade is just under 3 inches. And it's great. It's a really nice whittler, very practical, and I love this sheath combination. There's a magnet here, so it just clips to the material, the pocket, and you can draw it out pretty easily. Part of a fixed blade is the carry, how you carry it, and that is important. And I think this little sheath is just brilliant. It leaves just enough here to get a nice grip, and it's ready to go. So deployment on a fixed blade is really fast. So like when I'm at a meeting and I need to get into a package of muffins, boom, there it is, and it's back in again. As opposed to, I've got to pull this out and do that. And yes, it doesn't actually take up that much more time, but I like the dependability of a fixed blade. I just think, and I think it's just beautiful. I've never had a blade shape like this before. I've usually had like drop points, clip points, that kind of thing. So this is a really, really great svelte option. So this is kind of my civilized city knife, my urban knife, when I know I'm not going to do anything like overly outdoorsy. Because if I'm out camping or want to strike a ferro rod, or there's times when a 90-degree spine is really, really useful. So here's a budget option that could also be a pocket fixed blade. This is a very inexpensive knife. Picked it up for $25. It is a BPS Finn Lite from Ukraine with a 1066 carbon steel. And this is actually my first Scandi grind knife. It does have a 90-degree spine, and it's really, it's a thin one, isn't it? Quite thin with this wood handle. I'm not sure what kind of wood that is, but it's, yeah, it's a nice little effective knife. But it is a carbon steel, and we're in the Pacific Northwest. Can you see there? It's already getting a little corrosion. Make sure to put some mineral oil or something on your knives every now and then. So I carried this in my pocket a little bit. Not my favorite knife, but I like to see what else is out there, and especially on the budget range. I still feel capable with this knife. But you can stick an UltiClip or some kind of clip on here, and that's worked. I've done that, and it's worked fine. And I use the smaller, like 2.2 UltiClip, but I think it'll work with the larger one too. So that is an option for pocket carry. And let's see how these things compare. You know, Finn Lite is a little bit bigger, just over a 3-inch blade, where this is just under a 3-inch blade. You compare them side by side. So a little bit different. And yeah, you can see the size difference there. Do this. Yeah, so a couple different comparisons. Oh, I forgot to mention, the MKM is MagnaCut steel. My first MagnaCut knife. I do love this thing. It's really fantastic. Let's put some knives in a tree. So this Scandi grind Puko style knife, not quite my favorite. I like a really versatile knife, and I tend to go for flat grinds and saber grinds and things like that. The hollow grind of the Elementum, because I like my knife to be good with food prep. I'm a big foodie, and I love cooking outdoors. So this is almost notably for woodwork. Still a great knife, and so inexpensive. So I wanted to bridge the gap a little bit and get me a pocketable, everyday carry fixed blade with a 90-degree spine, and I found my knife that I am really, really very much enjoying. Here it is. This is the Exodus Knife Tool Adventurecraft, also known as the White River Knives Exodus 3. White River is the manufacturer, but this was designed by Jacob B. Peterson at Exodus Knife and Tools, and I have really fallen in love with this thing. It's a very thin knife, little over 3-inch blade, I think 3.15 inches, 1/8-inch spine, full flat grind. It goes off into a little taper. This is one heck of a whittler, and fits the hand really, really nicely. You're not going to get a hammer grip on it, but yeah, this has become a favorite. S35 VN steel with a OD green Cerakote finish, burlap micarta scales, which this particular model was a collaboration between Exodus Knife and Tools and Retro Warriors Coffee. So these scales are actually made out of a coffee bag. I'm not a coffee drinker. I prefer tea. That's just my way. But this has become my everyday carry. And every now and then I'll carry the Pocket Tango. I still love that knife. So the knife came with this sheath, though it has been modified. I added the UltiClip. This was the UltiClip. I had it on the Finn Lite, but I transferred it over to this really, really excellent Kydex sheath. I mean, look at this package. That's so svelte. It's so tiny and beautiful. Feels really, it really nearly disappears in the pocket. Nearly, but not quite. So the UltiClip clips on to the pocket. I'll show you some B-roll pocket footage later. But this is brilliant. So it didn't come with the UltiClip. It came with a loop that can be like put on a strap or something like that, or put on a belt for like an appendix carry. But those aren't quite my styles. I do like the pocket carry, but I also like the option of removing this UltiClip and putting the original loop back on and snapping that onto backpack strap. But here's the thing with a pocket carry and a Kydex sheath. Right there is the top of like the top of your pocket material, and then you've got all this sticking out of the pocket. So it's pretty great that it does that. Like, it doesn't fill up too much of the pocket, and it's pretty darn thin. But sometimes certain angles, this would poke me in my Buddha belly, and I just wasn't quite the ideal carry, especially after having that MKM magnetic sheath for so long, which is so comfortable. And I love leather. So I looked for another solution, and on Exodus Knife and Tools website, every now and then you'll find them in stock, is a really fantastic leather pocket sheath by Spirit of the Bear. And they're a little bit differently sized, but this has a much deeper carry, and the UltiClip does come with this sheath. And this is the bigger 3.3 slim, I think. I don't know all the UltiClip model names. It's got Exodus Knife and Tool. Oh, can you see it in this light? Maybe not. Anyways, I just got this last week, kind of the end of the week, and I've been carrying it, and I really like this sheath for a carry. But there's something about Kydex, that snap, not ever going anywhere. But there is the Adventurecraft. Let me put down this other Kydex sheath. There's the Adventurecraft in the leather sheath. And unlike that MKM sheath, there's not very much sticking up out of here. I imagine a lot of folks might put a little lanyard with a bead or something on it. I tend not to really like lanyards. So I've just been pulling it out kind of like that. So it's almost a little bit of a two-step grab, as opposed to the Pocket Tango that's a little bit, the handle's a little more exposed. But this has become my favorite knife, and really workable with this sheath. That's a brilliant little package. So I really enjoyed having a pocket carry fixed blade. Much more than a folder. I love how functional it is. I know this is never, like a pivot is never going to break on me on this. And this is a tough enough steel for a 3.15 inch blade. It's plenty tough to baton wood. I would have no problem cross batoning with this, and then doing all the fine tasks and food prep and fire prep, and it feels really good in the hand for such a small handle. It's such a well designed little knife that is very, very functional. Just the knife you need. And I often don't feel like I need to carry my belt knives, my larger belt knives. I've got a Lion Steel B35, which I love. A couple Jokers, a Joker Lynx, which is fantastic. Bushcraft blade, and a Joker Ember F. Which is also a really fantastic blade with 14C 28N steel. The Lynx has, I think, N690. You can correct me if I'm wrong. But yeah, this has become a fantastic tool that just disappears in the pocket. Because I'm also a photographer, so in my right pocket is also a Fujifilm X70. We'll take a picture. Boom. So, because of my photography work, and I'm just a photography geek, I'm going to be taking pictures on a real camera instead of my phone. This pocket carry EDC's got to fit with that too, and this one does quite well. They coexist quite nicely. So my pockets are generally pretty darn full with a Pioneer X Alox. Pull the scissors out again. Love those scissors. And a folding knife. Plus my little Rambler and my keychain, but I've run out of hands. So let's go to some pocket action shots, and I'll show you what some of these sheaths look like in pocket. Now, this turned out to be a long video. Thanks for sticking with it for some knife talk by the river. All right, well, let's start off with the folder, shall we? So here I've got the Civivi Elementum. The pocket clip comes down to about there on my pocket. It's just so easy to deploy. And really, that disappears in the pocket too. But it's still a folder, but it's a really great option. All right, next let's take a look at, let's see, the Mini Crooked River. A little bulkier, but still very easy to get out and about. Oh. Probably my most expensive knife, though I got it at a friends and family discount from Benchmade. Really great option, but not a fixed blade. Now let's go to the Pocket Tango. Really love that magnetized Oh, I've got it the wrong way. There we go. I love how that feels in the pocket. Sticks out a little bit more. It's a little bit more of a presence. But, boom, you're ready. Ready to cut open a box of muffins. And that easy to put in. And I love how the magnet is just easy to take in and out. Took maybe a couple days to break in the leather, but you can do a little push off if you want to, if it's giving you a harder time, but usually I can just pull it out and go. Oh, that's such a pretty knife. So let's go now to the Exodus Knife Tool Adventurecraft, aka White River Knives Exodus 3 with the UltiClip. So it takes a little bit more work because you've got to unclip that. But it just slips in right there. So sticks out a little bit more. It's maybe a little top heavy. Comes down to the pocket just, as long as the blade is, basically. Nice little carry. I've got my silky Pocket Boy Outback edition with me today because I was out looking for sticks. But this great deployment with a Kydex. This maybe feels a little more tactical, but for a small knife like that, it does make sense. Yeah, I like this carry, but it wasn't quite the perfect thing for me. At least in my right pocket. That's when this beautiful sheath came into the picture. Also has the UltiClip. So just pop that open. Slip it in, clamp it down. And then that is all that is coming out of the pocket. So pretty minimal presence there. And easy enough still. Maybe not quite as quick as the Kydex, but I'm not usually in an emergency situation when I'm finding a stick to whittle on. It's like, must whittle on stick very quickly. Yeah. So, and that also coexists nicely with the Fujifilm X70. Yeah, I've got bulky pockets, but this is the way. So, to get this out, just pull that up, and I never just quite... I kind of get my finger underneath there and relieve the pressure, and it pulls right out. Otherwise, I don't know if you can see it. There's that little groove that'll kind of catch your pocket lining if you don't kind of pull up. And it doesn't like flex up a little bit, just a little bit to take the pressure off. But that, my friends, is my favorite EDC right now. So, what are you carrying in your pocket? Leave a comment, like and subscribe, all that stuff. Hope your day is good. This is Hamid. I'm out.